All right, and we are live. So this is welcome back to Two Brothers Retro Games and Tech podcast. This is Jeremy, and you'll notice that Aaron is not here, and we also don't have
Uh-oh.
any of our fancy background that we usually run. So you can tell who does the tech side of things. But I was really happy to have Michael Garvey here today to fill in for my
Hey.
brother. So, Mike, you want to just kind of introduce yourself to our audience here?
Yeah, I'm Michael Garvey. I'm from Mike's Oasis. It's a channel that originally was dedicated to Amico, but now it's branched out into other video games, anime, movies, books, kind of anything I like. And you and me have been on podcasts before with the Amico All Access, and then of course your brother has been on a podcast with me, on Thursdays, tech, weekly tech review. So yeah, so I'm happy to be here, happy to fill in.
Cool. Well, I'm glad you're here. I know you're usually watching, so we took one of our loyal
Yes.
viewers and put you in the show.
Yeah.
Um, so we'll have to have somebody else troll us this week.
Well, already we've got original next level gaming. That's not BluesTack. Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, there you go.
So he's already.
Cool. So he is there. He's going for it. So we always start with this little segment.
Yep.
What have you played this week? So this week has been another interesting week for me where I have not played any video games.
Oh man.
That's going to be rectified shortly because I have a bit of a backlog. I've got like my retro game treasure unboxing that I did now a couple weeks ago before my vacation, and I haven't done the gameplay for that. And I know I've got a video games monthly box waiting for me, so I've got some gameplay that's going to have to happen real soon here. But I have spent more time. I don't know if Travis is on yet, but I've spent more time playing D&D this week. Because I was talking last show I was on, I was talking about how I was kind of getting into that. I
Yes.
watched some videos on TikTok actually with people doing the D&D story time, and it just was like, wow, this sounds so cool. I really want to like learn more about this and get into it. And I started I was actually looking for like a local Facebook group to join
Yeah.
so that I could just kind of like connect with people who are already playing and start to learn from them, and I didn't find one, so I made one. And so now I've got this group of like 20. We've got almost 25 members now.
Oh my gosh.
Just in the last couple of weeks of people who were just kind of out there but hadn't been connected.
Uh-huh.
And now they've got this funny story to tell where the guy who created the local D&D group had never actually played D&D before. Uh,
Hey,
but
there's
that
always a first. There's always a first time.
it's true.
I mean, you need to start somewhere. And you know what? That's sometimes the best because that community is really welcoming of newcomers because you know what it is. It's they want to play, and the more people they can get, the more times they can ask somebody to be the dungeon master. Because
Right?
everybody's like,
No,
no,
I
no, I
think
don't want to
actually,
do it.
yeah, down the road, I think I would be really excited to play the part of Dungeon Master. I've actually finished my first mini campaign. We did like a one shot that turned into a two shot,
Oh,
um,
sweet.
and we had a first time DM with two first time players, and then one really experienced DM and player who was a player. And it was just
Hmm.
a great little campaign. I played a wood elf cleric for my first character, and I actually ended up getting like the final kill of the
Ooh.
campaign in just spectacular fashion. We had met a basilisk,
Oh
and
my
we could
gosh.
tell we could tell it was almost dead just by the descriptions that we were
Uh
getting.
huh.
And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm gonna cast my last spell, and it's guiding bolt. and I actually had a crit roll on that, and so I did like 26 damage as a level 1 cleric.
At least it wasn't an
And
epic fail. That'd be worse. You know?
right. Well,
Yeah.
that's the other piece. So on roll 20, it rolls 2 dice at a time every
Mhm.
time. So I actually saw the second roll was a critical fail.
Oh
So
no. Oh my gosh.
it was interesting to just see them
Yeah,
both pop
that's
up, and
funny.
luckily it was the first one that counted.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I got to do this epic description of this blast of light coming out of my shield and just like frying this thing. And I just got to
You
say,
are
I just
incredibly lucky. Yeah, I mean, as a level
yeah.
one, those basilisks. Yeah, I remember playing games with them in it, and they were very high level. You know, I never actually
Yeah.
met them in a campaign. You know, so
Yeah,
yeah,
I
that's
know our
awesome. That's
DM
awesome.
definitely toned it down a little bit for our,
That's what
you
you got
know,
to do. Yeah, yeah,
for our group, but it was really fun, and definitely going to continue playing that.
yeah.
And so that's the game I played. It doesn't say retro video games in tech.
Yeah, no,
So
you don't have to play retro games. No, definitely you have a great DM because you know, instead of just lowering the stats of something and say, oh, it's just a regular, you know, the description really is the key. Is like, you know, you could have a wounded, you know, orc, or you know, you could have a full, or something looks odd about them, and maybe they drink a potion of strength, so they're even more powerful. You know, so there's a way you can play with all those things where, you know, instead of just going by the book, you know, you kind of you kind of play it by ear, and you know, whoever you have in your party. I think that's why it's great that the DM is not, it's not you versus the DM. It's more like they're helping to build the story along. You know what I mean?
yeah, and it's
Yeah,
such a fantastic partnership, and I love like we just
yeah.
did this one shot because we've been planning on a longer campaign. We're going to start Lost Mines of Fandelver this
Okay,
weekend.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and that one's I think they said like 20 to 25 hours. But we had some folks who couldn't start right away, so we just did a one shot before that, um, just to kind of
Oh
get
man, you'll
ready.
have to, yeah, you'll definitely have to tell me how that goes, because I tried to do that with my son, and I won't tell you what happened, but once you go through it, let me know, and I'll tell you what happened. But it was just hilarious. Yeah,
All right, I will do
yeah,
that.
I love all that stuff. I actually gave it all my books and stuff because my son and I were collecting a bunch of books, and I was DMing him, but now he's with a friend or two online, and I said, "Are you playing?" And he's like, "Yeah, we're thinking about starting up." So I give him all my stuff. I'm like, "You can have it all, you know, just keep it." And you know, he keeps everything neat and nice anyway. So, and of course, you know, we like to take stuff from Pathfinder. You know, we'll take campaigns and chop it up into, you know, D&D, you know, so we just
Yeah,
mix and match. It's pretty awesome. We've
cool.
got yeah, we've got this back and forth, this I don't know, this Star Trek bridge crew. I don't know. They're having a whole conversation over here.
Oh,
I don't
are
know.
they? Huh?
I think it's next level gaming. I think he's got a Star Trek influence that he's trying to, since BluesTech's not here.
Uh oh, funny.
That's funny. Yeah. So what am I playing? This week I'm doing Fantasy Star, the original one. I think it was originally on. It wasn't on Genesis. I think it was on the Mega Drive, or what? What's the original? The not yeah, the Mega Drive. I think it is. Anyways,
Yeah, Mega
I
Drive was before Genesis.
yeah. So I'm playing the Game Boy Advance has like one, two, three, and I think it might have four. We might just have one, two, and three. But I'm just playing number one because I was like, I have no other way of playing it, and I didn't want to, you know, emulate it and stuff. I just wanted it to be on something I already own. And then, so I'm playing that, and I kind of like the fact that in the dungeons and stuff, it's first person. Anybody who ever knows me knows I like first person dungeon crawlers. But then on the map, you're kind of just walking around. Almost, it's weird because it's almost like Dragon Quest, where you're walking around. All of a sudden, when you get into a battle, it's like all you see is the enemies, and then you kind of do your actions. And in a similar vein, I'm playing this game called Seventh Dragon. Now that came out on the DS, but it only came out in Japan. So I got a fan translation, and you walk around, and then you battle things like they're just facing you, kind of like Dragon Quest and those kind of things. But the weird thing about that is your characters are on each side of the screen, and then they'll come in and do like attacks. It's really weird, but it's a neat thing. I never played the original Seventh Dragon because it only came out in Japan, and I didn't have a way to play it. But I did actually play Seventh Dragon 2020 on the PSP, because the PSP is region. It's unlocked. It doesn't have a region. It's region free. So I played that, and it's pretty much the same standard way of doing things. The attacks don't go from the corners though. It's like this the spell animation kind of thing, where they do the little thing and then they hit the person. But I don't know. It's a neat kind of offshoot of these RPGs. It's kind of a dungeon crawl, but it's kind of top down, like a Dragon Quest or whatever. So I don't know. I kind of like those kind of things. So I figured, hey, I'll just play two types of dungeon crawls this week. So if you watch PM in the PM, you'll probably hear the same thing I just said.
All right. Yeah, I'm actually really excited now that I've played, actually played a little bit of Dungeons and Dragons. It's kind of given me some hope for what we might see in like the Amico, Cloudy Mountain 2, maybe. Because it looks like from the video, you're all going to be kind of ranged, archers like in the original. But it would be kind of cool if, and I get we want to keep simplicity for the end user, but if you could add a layer of variety for those who want it, it'd be kind of cool if you could have, like a ranged fighter, somebody who's melee, somebody who's healing, even if you don't give them, names that might intimidate people, like, cleric and barbarian and things like that. But maybe you could create the roles and the abilities and kind of give them.
I definitely can see that in my mind. When you said that, my mind goes to the skiing, where like they look different, all the different characters, and they might be different colors and stuff, but it's not overly complicated or detailed. It's just simplistic. You could have like a Cloudy Mountain 2 where the main screen, or maybe even there is no main screen, it's just on the Amico screen, there's colors, and like it'll say bow, wand, sword. So you don't have to say fighter or ranger or something like that, or cleric. You could just, what I mean? So healing potion or something, and you press it, and then you change into that person, and they're a different color, and then so you'll know just by the color what people can do,
That's true. And you could make it, it could be very similar to the menu, like in like Mario Kart, right? So you're going through and you're making your choices. You choose your character, you choose your cart. So in this version of like Cloudy Mountain, maybe you go through, you choose your character, and then it says, hey, what do you want to show up on your menu on your controller? Do you want to have a sword attack? Do you want to have a bow and arrow? Do you want to be able to heal people? And then so you kind of build your controller, and then you get into the battle, and it's exactly what you chose.
I could even see it where there's a toggle where on your controller, like you said, you could say I want a sword and stuff. It might just change to the word sword. You know what I mean? So you can have the word, or wand, so that if grandma's playing and stuff, maybe the icon is not familiar to her. It'd be like, oh yeah, just press the wand button. It's just the wand or whatever. So yeah, I think that'd be really cool. And then of course, for advanced players, you could kind of play with that where they could switch between classes, on the fly, maybe on the single player part, because they don't have their friends to help them out, and then maybe in the multiplayer everyone has to pick one part or something like that. So
Oh yeah.
yeah. Also, I was thinking, they're trying to stay true to the original one, so they're going to have this similar, enemies. But if they ever did a number two, they could use, like you said, you did the basilisk and stuff like that. You could, I mean, all you have to do is change up the enemies. You don't even have to change up the gameplay. That variety right there. My goodness, have you ever seen? There's how many books are just for the bestiary, or the what are they called? The monster.
Oh, the
manual?
the monster manual. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I used to love collecting those
right
things.
here.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So you've
just,
got
just that alone.
Few hundred pages of different creatures right there.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, yeah. Anyway, I was just thinking about that this week. I thought that'd be pretty awesome. I am super excited for Cloudy Mountain, as we've seen kind of the longer bit of gameplay recently. And I'm super excited for that. But I am already thinking about, okay, what other cool stuff could they put in future versions?
Yeah.
So we'll go ahead and move in.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I'm saying
no,
that's
you
thing
you
about,
continue.
Yeah, one thing about the Amico is, we're always hungry for something, and it also stirs our imagination. I think that's what it is. It's like when you see other, consoles, what you see is what you get, and you're kind of like, okay, well, I understand what they're going to show. But when the Amico shows something, it's just something in you just sparks, and you say, well, you wait a second, that's stirring my imagination. What more can we do? I think there's some sort of magic to it. I don't know what it is. There's some sort of secret formula that they have there, which I don't know, at least for me, whenever I see one of their, their commercials or something, it sparks something more in me. So yeah, Tommy's.
Well, I think you're onto something there, where they're doing something different. So they're kind of treading a little bit different path than others are, and that's what's got you wondering. Okay, well, what else are they going to do? Because
definitely,
largely the top manufacturers, they come out with more stuff, and a lot of it's more of the same, and they're pushing envelopes, and they do have some cool, unique stuff that comes out. I'm not like bashing them. I'm a proud Xbox owner.
Yeah.
But it's, I kind of know what to expect from them, and most announcements don't shock me. Okay.
Yeah,
but and I'm not saying
what's that? It's only been
Assassin's
3 or 4
Creed.
Generations. Yeah.
And that's the series that honestly I played a ton. I probably bought, I don't know, at least 8 Assassin's Creed games, and I've honestly got to the point of fatigue with it, where the last one I bought, I think, is still wrapped.
Well, I did the opposite. I did buy probably the same amount as you, but I haven't played any of them. I tried playing the Assassin's Creed Origins last week, and I don't know. I thought it would be more like, it was very combat oriented in the beginning, and that turned me off. I was like, I just want to explore. I don't want to have to fight right off the bat. So I never really gotten back to it. So, but maybe I'll go to one of the other ones that I have. So.
Cool. Well, we're gonna switch in. It's actually a pretty good segue. Our topic you wanted to introduce was about Microsoft and Sony's kind of their next gen strategies. That was looking interesting to you.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, Marcus. Well, first of all, we had a whole bunch of information from Sony several months ago, probably last year, in the form of interviews. So it was written word interviews. With a certain I forget who that was, but a certain magazine or internet place. So we kind of got, okay, well, we kind of know more about them. What's Microsoft going to do? Then all of a sudden, Microsoft shocked everybody at the Game Awards and actually showed the device. And we're like, whoa, they're showing it before Sony. And then they went further than that, and then they had somebody do like an actual breakdown of the console, like take it apart and show it, show everything about it. and we're still waiting and waiting for Sony. And then Sony, shows the controller, and everybody's like, "Oh, that's intriguing." Then Microsoft comes. I might be messing up the timeline, but then Microsoft comes out with third party stuff, and everybody's like, "Well, some of it looks good, but there's not enough gameplay." So I don't know if Sony took a cue from that, but they showed first and third party in their stuff, and showed gameplay, and then they showed the box. But now they're in this kind of cold war where neither of them wants to tell you the price. And this week, actually coming up, Microsoft's going to show a ton of first party stuff. And actually, you said you're really into Xbox. I just read that they have 60 demos that you can play this week. Some of them are going to be stuff that comes out 2 years from now. Even they're like, we usually give you a demo like a couple months before it's out, but some of this stuff is work in progress. But we want to show it off to you. So, I guess what I'm saying is, top level, if you think about it, Microsoft is really trying to right the wrongs of the past and trying to say we're more about third party. We're more about trying to give you games and show you what the product. And PlayStation, Sony is kind of like, well, we want to move on to the next generation. So all this is going to be next gen. We're not going to have this, where Microsoft says, if you buy it on Xbox One X or S, you can transfer it over to Series X, no cost, or, for all the first party. Mm-hmm. And if you have like Game Pass and stuff, that, all this stuff is going to transition. And it seems like Microsoft's doing the right thing. I don't know if it's echoing to people, but it seems like they're saying and doing the right things. But I don't know. Like, it seems like it's weird that they're both going into a different direction. What are your thoughts on all that?
So I've been trying to catch up on some of the news. It has been interesting, kind of the back and forth, as you said. And, a couple things that have jumped out at me lately. I think it was Sony that said, we're not really worried about backwards compatibility initially. Yeah. That was the stance. And then Microsoft's like, well, we're going to have our whole catalog. We're like, we're focused on thousands of games,
Yeah.
And that's interesting. So they talked about that. And basically from day one now, Xbox Series X will have backwards compatibility extending to all 4 previous generations, or 3. I can't remember how many we've had now since they're not numbered in any sense. But going all the way back. Yeah. Okay, so 4, 3, 2, and 1 all playable, except nothing that's Kinect, nothing that requires Kinect. And the PS5, what they said is basically they'll have the top 100 PS4 games. They're going to work on making those backwards compatible, and then anything made from July forward of this year forward will be compatible. Mm-hmm. And then any early games like PS1, PS2, PS3, they would, if they're super popular, they would make them available via the cloud. And that's the latest that I've heard on that.
Yeah, and I don't know what that means. I mean, does that mean, like, Microsoft seems to have found the secret sauce of you can put a disc in and you're not playing that disc. It's just the key to unlock what's in the cloud, and it can be downloaded to your system or you can play it from via the cloud. But it sort of kind of remembers that you own that, so then you can play it. So it's like emulation, but the disc is the key. What does Sony mean by the cloud? Does it mean, oh well, like I have a game called Kinetica. It's a PlayStation 2 racing game. It's like Tron, with the cycles. It's like motorcycle racing, but in the future and on walls. Anyways. I'm not going to be able to put a disc in, right? Because I can already buy it for PlayStation 3, and I can buy a version of it for PlayStation 4, but it's still the PlayStation 2 version, but it's just in the cloud, whatever, in their store system. But are they saying that there's like, well, it'll be on the store and you have to buy it new, or can you put a disc in? I don't quite understand that. Like, what does that mean?
That's a really good question. If I'm interpreting just the way they worded it, calling it the cloud, I would say at best it's a download, and at worst you're streaming. Like you're just going to play it
Yeah,
directly from their
yeah.
server and pay. You know, but I wouldn't think it would be anything that you could pop in the physical media. That's not what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, and Nintendo does this a lot where it's like, hey, it's the next time you gotta buy a system, you gotta buy, Super Mario World, or you know what I mean, or you know, Mario 64 again, and I don't know. It seems like Sony's taking that path. It's like I was thinking about that. I was like, oh wow, Jack and Daxter, is on sale for PlayStation 4. I'm looking over. I'm like, but I have the physical copy, and then I also have
Hmm.
the trilogy on PlayStation 3 that I bought. You know what I mean? Then I also have it on my Vita, the trilogy. I'm like, do I want to buy it on 4 just so I can play it on 4? Like, I already have like 3 different versions of it. It gets to be a little bit disappointing that they haven't unified it, you know?
Yeah, and I feel the same thing. When I've got, one thing I've really appreciated about Xbox Live over the last few years is from things that I purchased on Xbox Live from 360 have come
Mm-hmm.
forward to the Xbox One, and then
Yes.
things that so they're starting to have some continuity building there, and that's actually pushed me more to want to buy digital games from Microsoft rather than physical, because the physical games are more dependent on, like, are they going to make this backwards compatible at some point, or have they already? Whereas the stuff I buy on Xbox Live, that stuff is already in that medium that they're carrying forward.
Yeah, I
And
agree. They're doing
yeah.
it the right way, and one of the things I will say is that does make me a little jealous of the Xbox crew, because I'm in the ecosystem of PlayStation, but I can't play like that Star Wars game, Knights of the Old Republic. Hey, look, Pete's here. OEB Pete
He's here.
is
Well,
here.
we talked about Amico, so he's got to show up.
Oh yeah, it's like say Amico 3 times. If we say Tommy 3 times, I don't know if he'll show up. But that Knights of the Old Republic, somebody's saying, oh, you can play it up-res, and it looks amazing. I'm like, man,
Hmm.
that's crazy. And the funny thing is about what you're saying is when you were saying about the consistency and the thought, oh, I'm okay with buying digital now that I've seen some consistency. That's exactly what happened to me when I bought my PSP. When I bought my PlayStation 3, I was like, wow, a lot of the PlayStation 1 games, they're transfer over. Like a lot of the games you bought were cross buy, which if you bought one version, you got the other, and it was a consistency. Then the Vita came out, and they're like, well, at first the Vita said, well, we can't have some of these PlayStation 1 games. I'm like, how can you not emulate PlayStation 1 games? PSP does, and stuff like that. And then the same thing with PlayStation 4. Well, we can't emulate certain things. I'm like, I understand you can't emulate the PlayStation 3 because it had all that cell processor, whatever. But 1 and 2, come on. I mean, my phone
Yeah.
could do 1 and probably could do 2 as well. So, and I've already bought them. So, so that there was a break in their store, and I don't like that. And I really got latched into their ecosystem because of the consistency between PSP and PlayStation 3. And now, I mean, for Vita, now that it's dead, but Vita means life. One of the things, and I forgot to say this on PM in the PM, that I liked about the Vita is I finally, on one memory, whatever they have, those little memory chips, I have Final Fantasy 1 through 10 and Final Fantasy Tactics, and then the Final Fantasy Tactics PSP version. So I have all the Final Fantasies, all the old Final Fantasies on one thing, and they're all little bubbles, like, and I'm like, this is amazing. I was trying to do that on the PSP, but it's so hard, and to do them in order because the download order gets all messed up. So I just gave up on the PSP. And those, everybody who harps about the Vita memory cards being so expensive, the PSP ones were just as expensive. So, and by the way, I just heard today, look out, Xbox, that little memory thing in the back, the SSD memory thing, it's going to be proprietary and only one company is going to do it. And so they're thinking the prices are going to be like 200, just to start off with for a terabyte. So
yeah, I was
know.
seeing that.
Yeah.
I was watching. I think Rich at Review Tech had that video covering that
That's
today.
exactly where I found it. You see that too. Yeah, he's one of my sources, right?
and it's interesting. The strategies that Microsoft is employing for this round, and I'd speculated this when we heard that there was a lesser powered system coming to the next generation.
Yes.
So we have the Series X and the Series S to make you have to really enunciate. They and so I speculated that it's going to really undercut the price of the PlayStation 5.
Oh yeah,
and that's the intent.
Yeah.
But now you're seeing here's Rich saying here are two moves now that really are showing that's likely. One is the proprietary storage, so they can cut down the internal storage and they can make you still pay for it in the end. And then on the other one, so they can cut down that initial price though. And then the other one is they officially canceled the Series X.
The
Xbox One X. Yeah, I can't keep them all straight.
And the SAT edition.
Yeah, so they canceled the Xbox One X, which was Aaron's main point when we talked about this a few weeks ago. He was like, well, there's no way they'd bring out something that the Xbox One X is better, or where the Xbox One X is better than the new one. And now they've discontinued that. Yeah. So there isn't that conflict anymore, which tells me I think we could see Xbox have a $199 or $249 console.
Exactly. And you know what? This, as you were saying this, I recall this isn't the first time this has happened. Do you remember that the Xbox had the arcade edition where you only had 4 megabytes of memory, and then you had to buy, like a 200 gigabyte hard drive to put into the back, Remember the 360 had that?
I do, and I remember that hard drive. I didn't buy the arcade version, but even the first hard drive that I got, I had to upgrade, and it was that proprietary slap on the top thing, and man, that was such a pain.
Well, they're going back to that, but I think, of course, it's going to be like a little card slot, so I think it'll be less of a pain. And of course,
the pain was having to pay for it.
Oh yeah, no, that's going to be the pain. Now, I have a question here for you, and I know you're not as tech savvy as your brother, but there's a lot of stuff that I want to play that I can't. I can't legally play, so let's just say I could play it, but I want to legally play it. There's things like Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie and all these games from, that were out on 360 as they weren't originally from there, but they had their kind of like Xbox arcade, whatever they had. So I look and I see that some of these things are out there on the store, but you can only get it for Xbox. I'm wondering, if you do get the Xbox Series S, let's say it's $299. Let's say it's $199 or $299. That's still a pretty good price for the next gen. And maybe it only has 500 gigabytes. Maybe it doesn't have the 1 terabyte. You could put a lot of old games into that. You might only be able to get 1 or 2 new generation games and download those. But for the stuff that you all have back from the original Xbox, and then Xbox 360. Original Xbox had, didn't they have Perfect Dark? They had some Halos. Yeah. They had, I think it's called, cameo. It was just like this girl, and she like could turn into like a plant. She could turn into like all these different characters to solve the riddles of it. I love those kind of games. There was like Blinks the Time Cat.
Hmm.
He had some sort of, I'm like, those are the kind of games I want to play. And I don't think they're not huge. They're not gigabytes worth of memory. You could really load up on all those old stuff. What do you think about that?
That's true. Old and that there's a lot of value there. I found out I'm going to go generations before, but I talked about how I recently bought a Game Boy Advance and had the backlit screen upgrade.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it will play anything from original Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, original NES. And so I put all those libraries, the entire libraries, on
Yeah,
the flash card,
yeah.
and it was like 8 gigs for
Mm, that's
all of that.
crazy.
And the Game Boy
Eight
Advance were
gigs,
the
everybody.
biggest, but you have 8 gigs and you have like 5 systems worth of games. Uh,
Jeez, that's crazy. You
like
know,
you get the entire NES library in, a couple hundred megabytes, I think it was.
yeah. You saying that, I saw somebody selling a DS with the top, like a DS Lite, I think, with the top taken off, and it was, so it was just the one screen, and it was just saying, "Hey, you could have this as a Game Boy Advance player," and
Oh yeah,
hey, it
yeah.
works like that. I play. I don't have it right here, but I have. That's what I'm playing on my DS Lite. It has the two screens, but I'm playing my Fantasy Star, the one screen, and of course the other screen's blank. But it would be cool if there was just one screen. I don't care.
Yeah, that's
So
actually a mod that I saw somebody do a
yeah,
video on, because they had one where the upper screen was broken anyway, or
yeah, yeah.
one of the screens was. So
Oh
they
yeah,
just
those. Yeah, I had to
yeah, it
throw
was
two
cool.
of them away. My sons, I got a black one and a white one that when the DS Lite first came out, and I also got what was it, diamond and pearl. I got each of them, like one
Mm.
diamond and one pearl, and I gave it to them, and of course they drop them, and then the top screen's always the one that breaks and gets chipped, and it's like, oh, so I threw them away. But then, like I said, I saw that, I was like, I should have kept them just for the bottom part. So it seems like Blues Tech is in the chat vicariously through Jess, and he's
Yes.
saying that, yeah, there's 360 memory cards, and also what else? Oh, and then OEB Pete was testing his stream earlier. I gave him a thumbs up on that.
Nice.
As soon as I put the thumbs up, he shut it down. I'm like, ooh, wait, what happened? I was
Too
saying,
much attention.
Pete's competing with us? How dare he? It was about a half an hour ago, so it's
So
actually an hour ago. Yeah,
my last thought to kind of wrap up
yeah,
this
yeah, yeah, definitely.
next gen discussion is the game pricing. So they recently
Oh
and I
yeah,
can't remember if this is solid or if it was just
it
speculation
it
that
actually
it's moving to
solid now.
$70.
It's solid for. I think the EA Sports titles, they've officially said that it's going to be 70. I think it was EA. One of the companies that nobody likes. It was either Activision or EA. They dipped their toe in the water and said, "Well, if everybody hates us anyway, we're going to tell you that it's going to be 70." Now, here's the really kind of weird thing about this. They said for our reoccurring games, our yearly ones, they're going to be 70. That doesn't mean that for the other games they might not be 80. So I was
Oof.
like, wait, what? So it might not just be 60, 70, it might be 70, 80. So I think everybody that I've talked to says, hey, you want to do that? Then don't do loot. I had the same thought of what? I don't know what my thought was. I've had a lot of thoughts. Anyways, but let's get back to this. No loot boxes, no surprise mechanics, no DLC, none of that. Just everything on the disc, so to speak, or downloaded. That people are saying that would be okay, but I don't think
Yeah,
that's what's going to happen.
And that's the thing is, so on the one hand, I've been happy because we've stayed in this $60 place for so long. I mean, it's been 15 years at least, that we've stayed at $60 games. Um,
Okay, yeah, Pete. Yeah, Pete was trying to muscle in our territory.
yeah. So
Maybe it was Evil Pete that was doing
maybe it
that.
was Evil Pete. But yeah, so so on the one hand, we've enjoyed this place where we've been able to stay stagnant at sixty
Yes.
dollars, even though the games are getting bigger, presumably better. And more
Cost
work,
more,
bigger crews, bigger casts. They cost more to produce, but then they are making up a lot of that in the back end where they've introduced the loot boxes. There's a ton of microtransactions. I actually appreciated that they did the tiers for a lot of games where you could have the base, the deluxe, the super whatever
Yeah,
edition.
yeah.
So you might have a 60, 80, 100 tier system, and some people who would buy the more expensive versions help pay for us to keep our
Yeah, they
$60 version.
subsidize it. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's kind of like the season passes, right? I
Yeah.
mean, my son, it's funny. He thinks of that all the time because he's like he only basically plays Call of Duty. He's like, yeah, COD's coming out, and he actually, it's funny. He's like, I hope a new one doesn't come out this year. I hope they just work on it and just give us more DLC stuff. He doesn't really, because every time they try something new, they always mess it up. So he's like, right now it seems okay, and let's just keep going with it. But yeah, he always has to buy the season pass. So he's buying $120, $60 season pass, or and $60 game. But I mean, for him, it's like, oh, it's okay because I don't buy a lot of games and I play that all the time. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I felt the same way back in the day. It was Infinity Ward would make the good ones, and then
Yeah.
Treyarch did the off years. And
Yeah.
so I would buy the Infinity Ward, games and stick on that
Yeah.
track.
Yeah,
You know,
the scuttlebutt to this year is that they're all working on one game. They literally all the Treyarch Sledgehammer. I think they got rid of Sledgehammer, but some of the people stayed. I don't know. It's all a mess this year, and he's kind of worried that it's just going to be blah. He keeps telling me about all these stories about it. It's like, and they haven't introduced it and all. So who knows? Maybe we'll see something on Thursday with the Microsoft reveal. But
yeah, that'd be
who
pretty
knows?
cool. But yeah, I'm not excited about the price going up. I understand,
Yeah.
like, I think it's overdue, honestly, just um based on all the just
Yeah.
how long it's stayed the same, and most other things that you've bought over that 15-20 years
Yeah.
has gone up.
And Pong by Atari Tim says, you know that once one gets to 70, they'll all follow suit. So here's the thing. This is my thought. Okay. Halo Infinite. That to me that seems like it might be a $70 game. But the games that I like to play, the Disgaeas and stuff, there's no way that they spent enough money for it to be $70. That's the problem. There's no tier of like, the kind of JRPG should be maybe 60, or like the I don't know, something like Coven and the Labyrinth of Refrain or something should be a $40 game. Now sometimes they are priced reasonably, like $40 for those type of tier games. Let's just call them like the C level. They're not, you know what I mean, not the
Mhm.
AAA. But sometimes they just come out and you have to bite the bullet, and it's just like, I mean, I didn't mind buying Soccer Wars recently for full price because it looked like they really did a really good job of this. But some of these games, I mean, I'm worried that they're going to just jack up the prices just to be like everyone else. And it's like, I've seen games, they never go down. And it's like, I really like to play that game, but it's not, I can't afford it. It's more of I, personally don't feel comfortable sending a message that says, oh, this game's been out for 2 years. It's still, $50, $60. And it looks like maybe you only spent, one third the amount that a Treyarch or Infinity Ward pay, like, you know what I mean? Like The
Yeah.
Last of Us 2, you could, oh, big grandiose. Yeah, okay, maybe that'll be $70, Last of Us 3. But something that's like, pixel art, come on, it's something, in my mind, I just can't justify it. So if it goes
Yeah,
on
and
sale, maybe.
I would say too, another group that's been subsidizing this price is the folks who buy the digital versions,
Hmm.
because there is an incredible markup there where they didn't have production shipping, any of that for the
Yeah.
physical media, but you're still paying the same price on the line most cases, especially
Yeah.
with the new games. So um, that's a piece that if they do go to a higher price with physical media, I would love to see the digital price dip, um, and say, hey, we're
Yeah.
making
I mean,
physical 50 and or physical 70 and digital 50. I'd be
and
really excited about that.
and the one thing that people say, oh well, this, that, and the other thing, it's not that great of a deal. Think about it this way: Steam and Steam sales. There are things that are $60 games that get marked down to 99 cents, or something like that. So I'm not saying, yeah, there's certainly a lot of junk out there that sells for 99 cents, and they're probably worth 99 cents. But I mean, when you see a game that's a $70 game or $60 game, and these are high quality games from EA and Activision and all that, sell for $7. And I'm not saying, like there isn't sales on Xbox or PlayStation, but these sales go on for months sometimes, and there's one in the summer, there's one in the winter, there's one in the fall. Like these games are always available to get them, and sometimes like a humble bundle, for $30 you get like 50 games, and some of them are like, oh, you get 5 or 6 of the Assassin's Creed. Like I have a lot of games that I even can't even play because I don't even have a graphics card that I just bought because it was $10 on a humble bundle. I'm like,
Yeah.
you can't afford not to get them. So, night Pete, he's got to go to bed.
Right,
It's
Pete.
way too late for him.
What's funny? He's on my timeline. He's 3 hours earlier than you.
Yeah, but he's got to get up early and bright sunshine, right? But yeah, so the $70 game, like you said, some of us. There's one more thing that I want to put a pin in all this is, PlayStation already has an all digital version, PlayStation 5 announced. Do you think that the Series S is going to be all digital? Or is,
um, I That's a really good question.
because they got rid of the X, like you said, so it won't compete because it probably has higher specs, than the Series S, right? But they also
Hmm.
got rid of their all digital version. So
I kind of wonder if they will stick it to Sony and say you can put discs in all of our systems.
kind of like the trading thing that they did in the
Yeah,
beginning. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think they'll just say nope. Even our cheap one will play your old
Oh, yeah.
discs.
That's
That's
a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I That's what I think they'll do. I think they could go the other way, but if they have a chance to say that they're doing something for the consumer that Sony's not, they'll take it.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Let's
So,
see. We're going to move on to question of the week.
okay. Question of the week.
So this is, what are some games that you love playing all the way through? And I'll start since I've had time to think about this. And if you're in the chat, we want to hear from you too. And for me, I'm thinking like games that don't take dozens of hours or anything. So like I think of games I love to play through. I love to play through Double Dragon 2 on the NES. I love to play through most of the Super Mario Brothers games. Just start to finish, and I'll pick up Super Mario 2 and just play a couple hours and just go beginning to end, or I'll take the warps or whatever. But they're just games where it's really fun to just kind of go back and play and just kind of sit down and play through the whole thing. So do you have
Yeah.
any games like that for you?
Well, I will say there are some of the old school dungeon crawlers, like the Eye of the Beholders, they're not the shortest games in the world, but I like to play through them all the way through, and I might play them multiple times. Some of the dungeon crawlers recently are, I haven't gotten all the way through because they're a little bit longer than you'd like to. But like you said, like shorter games, even some of the action games that are only about 20 hours or less, you can get through them. But some of these games that I like, these JRPGs and stuff, they go on forever, and I just don't have the time. So what I end up doing is I'll play it until I just get to a point where I'm like, I want to play something else. You know what I mean? But some of the earlier, role playing games that weren't like so long, that weren't 70 hours, 100 hours. Oh, there we go. This is the jealousy. That's why I
Yeah.
might get that. Hey, who knows?
And I've been really happy with, especially Knights of the Old Republic. I've been happy with how much they've spread that, because you can play it on Xbox, you can play it on Steam, you can play it on your iPad or iPhone. I would assume they've got it on the Android store.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do.
But I actually found that playing on tablet was an enjoyable thing that I can kind of do on the fly, take it with me. Yeah.
Anthem he says can't stay on the clock for overtime by hi bye. So hi and bye. Oh, my friend Pedro. What is that game? Does anyone do you know or Tim, can you tell us what I've seen the title for it, and I'm like, what in the world is this? Is a banana or something?
Is that a banana pie the Amico runs on?
I don't know. It says my friend Pedro, and the
Yeah.
little icon is like a banana. I didn't look into it because I wasn't as interested, but now that somebody's saying that they like it, I want I want to know what it is.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see if Tim gives us an update there in the chat.
Yeah.
Quick Take Gaming says loved KOTOR and played both light and dark sides. Yeah, that was a really great game to replay. I have to say, the first time I played light path, and then the second time I went through dark side, and nothing beats mastering force lightning and just like frying a whole group of enemies at once. It's so fun.
Okay. And my friend Pedro is a run and gun shooter. Okay, cool. That's one thing about that I like about the shooters, or even like the shmups. They are short, but some of them, like those bullet hells, are just so hard. I'd love to play them all the way through, but I just can't get to the end of them. Action platformer with incredible play mechanics and run and gun gameplay. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, that sounds cool. Yeah. One of the things I was really excited about, well, first of all, I was disappointed because I thought it was only coming to the Switch, is Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne, which was a PlayStation 2 game. It was slated to only come for Switch, and then of course Shin Megami Tensei 5 is only coming to Switch. But they just announced today that it's coming to, I think, Xbox but definitely for PlayStation 4. So I'm excited about that because it's funny because that's the only one that I don't have the digital copy of. I rebought all the Shin Megamis digitally, and because I gave all my PlayStation 2 stuff to my kids, and I didn't buy that one. And I'm like, oh, and it's $10. Should I buy it? I could always borrow it back from my kids. I don't know. The problems of owning a collection of games, right?
Yeah. Another one I'll play is a couple of my favorite Assassin's Creed games. I'll go back and play Assassin's Creed 3 and 4, the Black Flag. Are my favorite Assassin's Creed games, and I'd go back and play those. Like I can't tell you how many hours I spent sailing and like just listening to the pirate shanties.
It's funny because they're still trying to come out with that all pirate game that was kind of based on everybody's love of that Black Flag. they're still trying to. It's like, man, why is it taking so long? You had you had the basis for it right there in your game. Just kind of expand it to that's all you do, you know. But there is supposed to be another pirate game coming out from another company, but it's almost like top down, almost isometric,
Oh,
like Pete likes it. Yeah, yeah. So it's more of a strategy, and you're just the ship. You can't get off of the ship, but you go to ports and you fight people, and so I think that'll be a neat kind of thing. I'm trying to think of other games I like to play. I like things that are like, you know, the role playing games that are simpler. You know, like the older ones. You know, like this Fantasy Star. You know, I'll be able to finish it, you know, because
hmm,
it's a short game, and you know, I like to play some of those, you know, all the way through, because these other, like I said, these other ones. I was thinking about playing Final Fantasy 13 this week, but I
yeah,
was like, man, I'm gonna get to a point, and I know, see, but I have to do it. I have to play it sometime, because I know it's a very controversial game. Everybody says, oh, it's, you know, it's a hallway simulator, but if you ever played Xenosaga, one, it's pretty much the same way, and there's like 10-15 hours of cutscenes. So to me, it's like, oh, it's just a prettier version of Xenosaga, because there's 10-15 hours of cutscenes there too, you know. So it's like,
yeah.
what's the problem? I like running around corridors and watching hour-long cutscenes. I don't care. Oh,
Funny.
maybe.
Yeah, actually, you mentioned Final Fantasy. That's another couple that I can just play.
Hmm.
Final Fantasy 8 and Final Fantasy 6. I can
Yeah.
play those just anytime. I'll pick up and
Yeah,
start.
Final Fantasy 8 and Final Fantasy 4 for me. I might not be I might not be able to play them all the way through, but I always like to, you know, at least get to you know, disc 2, or you know, disc 3 or whatever. Like, you know, just to get to a certain point, you know, and just be like, oh yeah, I got to
Yeah.
at least. But you know, that 8, man, you could go down such a rabbit hole with doing the card game, and then
Oh yeah.
making the cards into to all the items you need, and buffing out your stats. And it's like, there's so many ways. Like, I was watching somebody who, he got to such a level just by battling on the bridge, you know, and the first mission in that
Hmm.
city. And he killed everybody but Cypher, or yeah, is that his name? The, you know, the bad guy, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So you know how your level, you can be under level, but he got so much. I don't know what he did, but he just broke the game in the first hour. I was like, there's so many ways that you could. There's so many. I love that. Some people hate that, but I love
Yeah.
that there's so many ways that you can break the game. And I love the
Yeah.
story. I love the story. It's funny because I always think of Squall as being kind of like lightning. You know, people don't understand that you have to have a protagonist that has a flaw, or they don't talk a lot, or they're sullen, so that, you know, they can grow. You have to have a point. You can't be perfect. You have to have a point where you're not perfect, so that you can grow. That's what a story is. What's Atlas? I don't. Blues Tech said Atlas.
Yeah, we'll have to have Blues Tech pipe in on that. Quick Tick Gaming says Spider-Man PS4 is one I played all the way through.
Mm.
Tim says Heroes of
Heroes of
Ruin on
Ruin.
3DS.
Yeah.
Travis, Alex Kidd in Miracle World is the closest he's come to playing the whole game. Would you believe me? Do I know the game? I don't. I've never played it, but it is one that I'm hoping to get. I think I know they have Alex Kidd on Genesis. I don't know
Yeah.
if that's the exact one that you're talking about, though.
All I remember about that is everyone says, well, they had Alex Kidd, but then when they got Sonic, that's when they took off. So I don't know either. So I've never played it or anything. Yeah, apparently Spider Man, yeah, is a good. You know, I bought Spider Man like the day it came out, and I I haven't played it yet. I'm terrible like that. Well, I mean, I generally play a lot of you know, like I said, RPGs and stuff. But I like quirky things. Like there's one that's on the store right now. It's kind of like a roguelike. It's called Terrarium. I haven't bought it yet, but I'm thinking about buying it and playing it. It looks like it's a small little game, and it's kind of one of those quirky ones, you know. So I like those kind of games too. Like these quirky games is like Liar Princess and you know and the Blind. I forget what the full title is, but they're all these kind of they're kind of these platformy puzzle games and stuff. Like I don't know if you remember, but do you remember Klonoa? There was one for PlayStation 1 and then one for PlayStation 2. But then in the Game Boy Advance, they changed it to instead of being 2.5D, yeah, where you know you ran along a path and it was kind of 3D. It was strictly 2D and it was a puzzle based game. And I used to love playing this. I love those games where like you have to find a block and push it here. And there's a lot of games like that on Game Boy Advance or there's somebody's making games like that for the Dreamcast, even today, there's one with like Alice from Alice in Wonderland, but it's a puzzle. It's a 2D puzzle game. I love those games. So.
Yeah, that actually reminds me of Portal. That's another game that I can play through. I'd go back and play that every couple years and just and again, I don't have to go beginning to end, although there is that reward that you get to the end music. But I just go through and I play through about half of it, and I'm like, oh, this is so great. I just want to remember the feel and the fun of like solving the puzzles, and such a unique game.
I remember when I first played it was several years after my kids played it, and I'd be like run into their room. This is when they lived with me. I'd run into their room. Okay, how do you get by this thing? I'm not understanding this puzzle. And they're like, well, where are you? Well, there's sludge on the ground or something. There's garbage, and I can't get. Oh, you just do this and that. I'm like, oh, okay. So then I'd run back and try to finish it. You know, it's a fun game that I haven't played in a long time. I just remembered. Do you remember the Donkey Kongo? Like it was for GameCube, and it was Donkey Kong, but it was with Congos. Oh, that's a fun game. That's something I would beat over and over.
So is it like a drum kit simulator?
Yeah, but you play as Donkey Kong. So you want to go this way, you go doot 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 doot. You want to pound the ground, you boom. Or like you want to punch somebody, you go da, 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 so the drum, the Congos had like a section up at the top of them and the section up at the bottom. So it was basically 4 pads, not just 2, So it's where you hit them, and if you hit 2 at the same time. So it was an 2D side scroller. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, that's wild. Titanfall, that was a really fun game. The mech battle. I bought. I played that a lot. That was Infinity Ward, if I remember right. The folks or the guys who left Infinity Ward, and created Respawn. That was, I think, their first new title.
What do you think of Titanfall 2 compared to Titanfall 1, or have you played that one?
I have to abstain. I have Titanfall 2 wrapped and sitting in my cupboard.
Well, I have Titanfall 2 wrapped sitting on my shelf for PlayStation. Because I didn't have Titanfall 1, it was only an Xbox exclusive. So, but if you tell me I only got it for like $5 or something. It really went down in price. But it's wrapped, and if you tell me it's good, I'd play it. But
I've heard really good things about it. I also got mine on a discount somewhere, and I just never popped it in. I was, been playing other things. Anyway, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up. Last thing for today is just a really quick thing I've been wanting to do for a while. Aaron was out shopping. He was like, hey, the game stores are open down here. Is there anything you want me to pick up? And I gave him a short list, and I've got a package. So I'm going to open it up. And
he's here in spirit.
He's here in spirit and in the mail. And he was like, hey, should I just bring it out when I move there? And I was like, no, it'll be faster if you just send it. And now he's going to be here this week, so I better open it because it's been here a while.
Yeah, you don't want to be opening it while he's at your door, knocking on the door.
All right.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh, what is it? What is it?
Okay, and there.
Oh my gosh. The
The
original, the one and only.
original Final Fantasy.
Wow.
So, and that is one I don't have yet.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
And
cool.
you know what? That was the one where the Final Fantasy in Japan and the Final Fantasy that we had were the same. And then after
It's the
that, the
same thing.
numbering got all messed up because two
Yeah.
is four and six is three. And so that was the only time that we were in sync with Japan.
Yeah. And so I don't know the whole story, but I didn't I've heard more talk about this game lately, where basically this was it I can't remember who, if it was Square back then or what the company
Yes,
was. So
Squaresoft, yeah.
this was like they were about ready to like basically go under. They're like,
Hmm.
this is the game we always wanted to make. Let's just make it, and then we're gonna be done.
Yep.
And then it was just a huge hit, and now you
Yep.
look today like at. So I just thought
That's
that
why
was
they
so
named it.
awesome.
Yep. That's why they
That
named it Final Fantasy, because they
yeah.
thought that that was going to be their last game. That's an amazing story that they did that, and the fact that they were taking on Dragon Quest, which in America that's the other thing, we called it Dragon Warrior for a while, but yeah, Dragon Quest, and they did things differently, like showing both you and the enemies on the screen at once. Just amazing things, and the music. Oh, the music, the battle theme, or the triumph theme at the end. I love that.
Yeah.
Did the first one have that?
You know,
I can't remember. I mean,
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I've played like the PSP, updated graphics. I played it on my phone and stuff, but I don't know if the original one from NES. I've never played the original one from NES. I had it on my phone before smartphones were around. I had it with with a flip phone. I was like, I gotta have this game. Now that's a game I could play over and over again. That and Dragon Quest, the first one. I love those two.
Nice.
They're fun, but I can't beat them all the way because this gets really long.
All right, so what do you have coming up on your channel this week?
I'm gonna have a movie, review coming out, and then I'm gonna have an anime review coming out, and I might do a little bit of a nod and a wink to the August 4th announcement that the Amico, of course. Forget about the Amico. John Alvarado was in the commercial, so I'll be talking about that. So those are the three things I'm gonna have. What are you having?
So hopefully I'll have my gameplay from Retro Game Treasure. Had some great pickups this month there. And then I will do my unboxing from Video Games Monthly. And I'm sure I'll have some things to talk about with Amico, as you said,
Yes.
coming up next in the next couple weeks. So lots of fun stuff coming out there.
Awesome.
All right. Well, Michael, thank you once again for coming over and filling in for Aaron.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, that's super cool. And next week we should be back to Aaron and me together. So
thank goodness. I can't wait because I love to be in the chat trolling everybody.
And you are our favorite troll, so we welcome it every week. Anyway, thank you again, and thanks everybody for tuning in and participating, and we'll see you next time.